Conference, brought to you by IRENA, ADB, and ARE. We are delighted here to see such a crowded room, and I know there's some more people outside still trying to get in, but I don't want to keep anybody waiting any longer. My name is Timothy Hurst, and I'm the Chief Communications Officer at IRENA. This morning's proceedings will commence with remarks from representatives of our three key sponsors. I'd like to invite them up on this stage now. Mr. Zhang Wenchai, Vice President of the Asian Development Bank. Mr. Adnan Amin, Director General of the International Renewable Energy Agency. And Mr. Ernesto Macias, President of the Alliance for Rural Electrification. Speaking first is Mr. Wenchai Zhang. Mr. Zhang is the Vice President of the Asian Development Bank. He joined ADB in 2013. Mr. Zhang is responsible for operations in the South Asia Department and Central and West Asia Department. Prior to joining ADB, Mr. Zhang was the Director General of the Department of External Economic Cooperation at the Ministry of Finance. He served as the Deputy Director General for the International Department of the Ministry of Finance in China from July 2004 to July 2012. From April 2007 to 2009, Mr. Zhang was the Executive Director for the PRC at ADB, where he was the Chairman of the Budget Review Committee and a member of the Development Effectiveness Committee and the Ethics Committee of the Board of Directors. Speaking second is Mr. Adnan Amin, Director General of IRENA. Mr. Amin was elected as the Director General of IRENA in April 2011. In his capacity, he is charged with the responsibility of establishing a sound institutional management structure and clear vision for the agency. Mr. Amin brings to this position over 25 years of experience in the fields of international environment and sustainable development policy, as well as in the political management and interagency coordination functions of the United Nations. Mr. Amin served as the head of the UN System Chief Executives Board for Coordination Secretariat. Mr. Amin also served as the Executive Director of the Secretary General's High-Level Panel, UN System-Wide Coherence, responsible for UN System-Wide Coherence. And speaking third is Mr. Ernesto Macias. Mr. Macias is a qualified expert in the field of rural electrification with over 11 years of specific experience. As President of the Alliance for Rural Electrification, he has been instrumental in promoting electrification projects for remote communities. He has experience in the management and implementation of over 30 electrification projects around the world, including remote islands. He is also one of the partners of the Spanish consultancy firm Wonder Energy, focused on the market development of renewable energy technologies. Without further ado, I'd like to invite Mr. Zhang for the first remarks. Mr. Zhang.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to Manila and to this special event, the International Off-Grid Renewable Energy Conference, or we call it IOREC. I thank the organizer for allowing me to give a few opening remarks to set the tone for the discussion to come. Let me first greet Mr. Adnan Amin, Director General of the International Renewable Energy Agency, and Mr. Ernesto Macias, President of the Alliance for Rural Electrification. As co-organizers of this event, IRENA and the Alliance for the Rural Electrification have done much to make this conference and exhibition possible. Thank you to all involved. Later today, a memorandum of understanding will be signed that will contribute to further strengthening the collaboration between Asian Development Bank and IRENA. ADB is delighted to be hosting this event, especially as this is the second ever IOREC to be held, and the first in Asia. We are particularly honored to make this gathering part of the 9th Asian Clean Energy Forum. I am confident that IOREC will bring expertise to bear to make an important contribution to this week's discussion, organized by our Energy for All initiative on the deployment of renewable energy solutions in energy access. By making IOREC part of our Asia Clean Energy Forum, we also want to emphasize that energy access and clean energy are key areas of ADB's work and policy. As we all know, renewable energy and off-grid energy access are closely linked issues. But we would recognize that this is only a recent connection made possible by great advances in renewable energy and a deeper understanding of energy poverty. For decades, ADB, our partner development organizations, and national governments have prioritized extending national energy infrastructure grids. This investment have benefited millions of people, but millions remain unserved. The international energy agencies estimate 615 million people in Asia and the Pacific are still without access to electricity. The grid has reached its geographical and financial limits. Few energy utilities can afford to extend their lines across mountain ranges or underwater to reach islands. It is the same for sparsely populated areas. Yet, it is these people living in remote, rural areas who will benefit that most from the modern energy access. As part of ADB's mandate to fight poverty in Asia and the Pacific, and its objective of inclusive, sustainable development, we put great emphasis on both maximizing access to energy for the poor and supporting clean energy in as many ways and sectors as possible. This is our official stance as laid out in our long-term strategy 2020 and our current energy policy established in the year 2009. Our Energy for All initiative and clean energy program lead our efforts in these areas. Off-grid renewable energy is the intersection of ADB's priorities for renewables and energy access. The potential to reach and benefit millions with access to the modern energy is a chance that cannot be passed up. And placing people on low-carbon paths of development at an early stage allows them to leapfrog the need to depend on high-carbon sources of energy. Let me talk about the ADB support for the access through renewables. Our level of investment in energy access and clean energy show our commitment. Since 2010, our annual investment in energy access project has been at least $900 million. Last year, we invested over $980 million in energy assets. Between 2008 and 2012, ADB's completed projects extended new power connections to over 4 million households across the region. Our clean energy investment has been just as solid. Since 2011, ADB has surpassed $2 billion annually in clean energy investment, covering both renewable energies and energy efficiency. Last year, we invested $2.3 billion. Clean energy is our region's win-win solution to the dual challenges of energy efficiency, energy security, and climate change. Even better, we can now say that it is a win-win-win situation. As clean energy technology has advanced, it is also an excellent off-grid solution. ADB is what we call technology agnostic. We are willing to support any technology as long as it is proven and helpful. Our investment have gone to mini-grids, solar home systems, and community-scale hydropower. But for long-term sustainable solutions, we are looking at entrepreneur models. We have partners with well-known names such as SELCO, Remarkable India Social Enterprises, that supplies home solar energy systems and trains and supports energy access entrepreneurs. We are also supporting upcoming businesses, even through private equity investment in innovative areas, such as a pay-as-you-go system for electricity access. Through our Energy for All initiative, we are developing projects offering mentorings and connecting energy assets investment proponents with investment to help them expand and scale up their operations. At the opening of this Asia Clean Energy Forum main event, we will formalize ADB's role as a regional hub for the global sustainable energy for all initiative. These efforts seeks transformative change for increasing the use of renewables, promoting energy efficiency, and ultimately achieving universal energy access by 2030. The growth in renewable energy, the advances in technology, and the renewed focus on the ending energy poverty are all aligned to make off-grid energy solution the next major area at which government and the private sector will be looking. It is an exciting prospect. I hope that this conference helps to lay the groundwork for the future development and give us all a better understanding of how these solutions can push our region and the world toward a better, more inclusive and sustainable future. Thank you for your attention. I hope you have an excellent conference. Thank you all.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's really a great pleasure for me to be here and to welcome you to the second International Off-Grid Renewable Energy Conference hosted here at the ADB headquarters in Manila. And thank you very much, Mr. Zhang, for your very kind welcome to us. The level of participation that I see here is quite remarkable, and I think it's a testament to the growing importance of off-grid and small-scale renewable energy. And this conference for us in IRENA marks a critical milestone as we endeavor to develop a global platform for stakeholder engagement to advance the adoption of renewable energy worldwide. It's quite sobering to think that IRENA is one of the youngest international organizations on the world stage, barely 3.5 years into our formal existence, but already one of the fastest growing international organizations in the world with close to 170 countries now as part of our framework, and that membership continues to grow, as well as the reach of our activities and the knowledge products that are being produced, as well as the stakeholder participation that we're generating. And I think the reason for that is not only because you have such charming people working for IRENA. The reason is because the world realizes that we are at a critical point where development imperatives, climate challenges, and opportunities for technological development are placing us with a historic opportunity for transition to a clean energy future. And I think that is the expectation that we see around the world and the reason for the growth in interest worldwide in this issue. We started this particular initiative 2 years ago with the first off-grid renewable energy conference in Accra, in Ghana, for the African region. In Africa, there was a tremendous response to this conference. We have started a process of engagement and development of off-grid renewable energy in Africa that is multiplying. And we want to duplicate that here in the Asia-Pacific region, knowing that the particularities of this region and the knowledge frameworks of this region are quite different from that what we face in Africa. And we have a number of entrepreneurs here with us yesterday and today who will talk to this issue and try to help us to find the solution of what is the optimal engagement and the optimal policy frameworks that we can put in place to really have growth in the future. So we are embarking today with our partners in the Asian Development Bank and the Alliance for Rural Electrification on a collaborative pathway that will leverage our respective institutional strengths to address some of the major development challenges faced by the global community today, that of achieving universal access to modern energy services. Now, we all know the statistics that almost everybody uses in a speech, which is 1.3 billion people do not have access to modern energy services today. However, 95% of those 1.3 billion are in Africa and Asia Pacific. And our targeting of Africa and Asia Pacific specifically for the off-grid agenda is a very deliberate choice, both in terms of the need, but also in terms of the opportunities that now exist in both continents. We consider universal energy access as a key development imperative, not strictly related to climate or environment, but as a development imperative for growth and sustainability for the future. There's no doubt that access to clean and reliable electricity supply is vital for social and economic development, and sustainable energy is indeed at the core of the sustainable development discussions and increasingly emerging as a central pillar in the post-2015 development agenda deliberations. Some of you know of the intense negotiations that are going on in New York as we speak for the successor arrangements to the Millennium Development Goals, which will be called the Sustainable Development Goals. And I'm very pleased that Kande Yumkela, my friend, will be here a little later this morning, who is spearheading the effort to include energy and energy access as part of the goals. However, to achieve universal access to electricity requires a combination of both grid-based and off-grid approaches. And Mr. Zhang spoke about the clean energy investment of the ADB, which is directed to both of those. Without that approach, the broader objectives of inclusive and socially and economically sustainable development cannot be met. Renewable energy, in our view, has a crucial role to play in this context. And more specifically, small-scale or off-grid renewable energy-based solutions now offer the possibility for a key opportunity to expand clean, reliable, and cost-effective electricity in rural areas. In fact, in the context of development, off-grid renewables have the potential to leapfrog the grid-based paradigm, and we are seeing with the development of technology and cost that this is becoming a reality every day. We still think that off-grid renewables are an untapped opportunity. They have not met yet the potential that they have. Nearly 60% of additional generation required to achieve universal electricity access is estimated to come from off-grid solutions in the future, both standalone and mini-grids. The opportunity that decentralized renewables present in this context is immense, and we are seeing the business model, especially around mini-grids, becoming more and more compelling by the day. Mini-grids alone have the potential to profitably serve at least 30 million households, representing a market of up to $4 billion. And I think this is a very important metric, because increasingly what we are seeing with renewable energy is that this is not a case for charitable contributions to get people a solar panel. It is a transformational opportunity for development to provide people with access to modern energy services. IRENA's work on renewable power generation costs concludes that renewable energy technologies are increasingly cost competitive and are now the most economic option for off-grid electrification in most rural areas in developing countries. They can be significantly cheaper than diesel-fired generation or kerosene-based conventional lighting. We are seeing from our costing work, for example, the cost of technology for solar PV over the last 4 years has come down by 70%, and that decrease is projected to continue into the future. Now, both of these are dominant sources of, both the kerosene and diesel are dominant sources of expensive and unclean electricity in many rural areas. Looking just at lighting, end users pay a total of up to $23 billion each year to fuel kerosene lamps. Let's think about what we could do with that money in the field of renewable energy, and I'm very pleased that Dipal Barua is with us, who is actually providing a living model of what is achievable in Bangladesh when you transfer that money towards renewable energy. Tapping into this vast potential, however, will require collective efforts to create an enabling environment that supports the energy access scaling up through private sector participation. Now, this is another key part of the equation. This includes adopting an effective policy and regulatory framework, along with tailored business and financing models, and adapting technologies to the rural context. However, we know that if we are going to make progress in moving renewables off-grid forward, we have to translate commitments on paper into action across the board. There are several approaches being adopted across the world, and those cases demonstrate that if the enabling environment is appropriate, off-grid solutions can be deployed rapidly to extend electricity access for meeting basic, but also promote productive uses. And I mentioned Bangladesh, which is a case in point with the largest deployment of solar home systems, which were 2.6 million, I understand, at the end of last year, if I'm not mistaken, Dipal. 3 million. It's like an auction. Amazingly, Bangladesh's solar home systems program deployed 280,000 solar home systems in the 6 years between 2002 and 2008. But today, it deploys the same number in under 5 months every year. The business case for deploying off-grid renewables in rural areas has never been stronger, and unique business models are emerging to underlie growth in the sector. Much of the business model innovation in emerging markets has been due to piggybacking delivery of energy solutions onto the booming adoption of mobile telephony. And as we can see, mobile telephony coverage in 2013 was estimated in Africa, for instance, to have 76% penetration, in contrast to the 32% electrification rate we have in Africa. But with the advances that we're seeing in technology for off-grid solutions, we know that the electrification rate can be substantially increased in a short period of time. We're also seeing a tremendous business case for off-grid and mini-grid renewable energy solutions on islands. Island countries are often saddled with the high costs of imported fossil fuel and isolated power grids, but blessed with clean energy potential from sunshine, from wind, and from the ocean. IRENA's GREEN, the global network for islands, which includes clusters on development of grid solutions, on roadmaps, energy roadmaps for islands, desalination, waste-to-energy solutions, and tourism, is an island-led initiative that brings partners together to advance clean energy on island nations. And this outlines the opportunity that renewable energies present as a low-cost option for meeting energy needs and substantially reducing import bills for these countries. Many island countries, for example, spend over 10% of their GDP on imported fossil fuels, which are volatile both in supply and in price. In supporting island countries in their transition to a renewables-dominated energy system, IRENA has developed a lighthouse program that will be launched at the Samoa conference later this year to facilitate the formation of local and regional partnerships, as well as engagement of the international community. IRENA's approach to advancing off-grid renewables in islands and countries with low levels of access involves strong engagement with the private sector, entrepreneurs, in order to leverage and scale up our efforts. We are building a strong link with incubation centers, entrepreneurs, and renewable energy associations around the world. And it was in this context that yesterday we convened a workshop with the Asian Development Bank and DFID of the UK here at the ADB headquarters. The proactive role of intergovernmental agencies to further the creation of a level playing field between grid and off-grid players at the policy and incentive structure was stressed throughout the meeting. I didn't make it in time for the meeting, but I heard it was a great success, and whenever you see that there's a workshop where the participants delay going to lunch because of the interesting discussion, you know that it's doing pretty well. There is a built-in bias because towards large-scale energy systems due to the high cost of transaction for financing smaller-scale solutions. As such, measures are needed to increase access and reduce the cost of capital, and enable greater investment in off-grid renewables. This is one of the key constraints, is the cost of financing off-grid solutions. The ADB initiative under the Climate Technology Fund, for instance, for mini-grids is a good example of exactly the type of measure that is needed in this respect. Beyond the energy sector, there are striking synergies between rural electrification and other sectors critical to human development. Access to electricity can improve accessibility and reliability of water supply, facilitate extension of basic rural healthcare services, and enable the outreach of telecommunication services in rural or island contexts. This presents a compelling case for policymaking to adopt a more holistic approach to energy access and include it as a means of stimulating economy-wide development and as a pathway in our fight against poverty. It is platforms like IOREC that will be instrumental in identifying potential solutions to off-grid development challenges that we face, and I'm delighted that we have such a varied and engaged audience for this discussion today, because our objective coming from this meeting would be really to develop that groundswell of support for this transformational change to come. Allow me to conclude by thanking the Asian Development Bank for hosting this second International Off-Grid Renewable Energy Conference at its headquarters and the support that you have provided to us in this respect. I'm confident that this is the beginning of a strong partnership moving towards a common objective of the sustainable energy future in the Asia-Pacific region. I'm also confident that during the course of these 2 days, many of the issues that I highlighted here will be at the heart of stimulating discussions, and I'm hopeful that they will provide concrete steps to support the scale-up of off-grid renewables. I wish you all an enriching and dynamic discussion over the next 2 days for this important topic, and I look forward to our common commitment to the outcomes of this and making this a reality for the future. Thank you very much.
I need my glasses. Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Sang. Thank you, Mr. Adnan. To be the last speaking now has a great advantage. Some of the issues have been already named. But I would like to start with something that I'm a little bit sentimental. And when I started in this business, rural electrification, not only rural electrification, but renewable energy was like a dream. It was something that a few people have the faith that it was really the solution for the planet. And every forecast, when I was president of EPIA a few years ago, when we planned what PV, for example, will be in the coming 2, 3, 4 years, all the achievements were far away from what we expected. So I could say that renewable energy is winning. Most of the new installations in developed countries comes from renewable energy. So this is really extraordinary. And regarding off-grid, first of all, I would like to thank you, perhaps some of you are here, to those pioneers that started 30, 40 years ago with the small installations, basically trying to provide some light to people that had not that possibility. And at that moment, I think nobody could expect that it could be a real solution. Now, I think in the last few years, even from our last meeting in Ghana, we are facing a big change. Renewable off-grid solutions are not those who were planned to solve a problem for a while, but now they are, it's a stable solution forever. Somebody could say, no, this is impossible. This is a word I have heard many times in the past. This can be true. But we are making it possible. So for me, this is the big step, the big change. I have had the proud and the honor to live in the last 8 years since we started, we created the Alliance. Okay, the Alliance for Electrification is a small advertise about our organization. Is an international business association based in Brussels, where we have been trying to attract, and we are getting it somehow, most of the industrial representatives involved in this business. Obviously, most of the companies in the beginning were more focused on grid solutions, but step by step, off-grid is becoming, for many of these companies, this is a private sector that, frankly, what they want to do is a business. We need to make a profit, and we need to supply and to provide a service. And obviously, what we are getting in the last few years is to exchange the communication in terms of technology and improvements, business models, and all these issues that are absolutely key to warranty the future. And as I said in the beginning, it's very clear that we, together with many other stakeholders, as a global platform for sharing this knowledge and the best practices to provide this rapid implementation is one of the key issues. We are working very closely to institutions like IRENA and the World Bank, United Nations, the European Commission, and many other foundations as a partner to try to really facilitate the schemes and the business models that works. So we are very, very close to reality. Our members are working in the countries, making installations. They know what works, what doesn't work. We are, in the last few years, providing solutions not only for getting good installations, but also how we can manage, how the big change, you remember, I mean, in only a few years ago, most of the installations were done or financed by NGOs or by charity, let's say, what I used to say, charity electricity. Now it's a completely different world. We are trying to really provide electricity in according to a financial model that must be sustainable and can be enlarged and can be step by step provide stable solutions for the citizens. You all know that, I mean, electricity means many other, has been said many times, it's not just to provide electricity, it's to provide better agriculture, is better life, industry, business, and so on and so that. So obviously we are also very strongly committed with the Sustainable Energy for All initiative, and we are trying to participate and cooperate with this amazing initiative that at the end, as has been said, has a vision of that could be, you know, as I said before, difficult to believe, but most of the electricity in the world in the coming years will be installed in isolated areas with off-grid solutions. So now our challenge, and this is our mission, is how we can, together with all our members and all the partners, try to exchange this communication. One of the things that we have also experienced in the last few years, as Mr. Adnan said, for example, regarding the mobile phones, is the extremely improvement that we have experienced in our solutions. And obviously, I would like to invite you to go to, after the meeting, to our exhibition, where some of companies will share with you their experiences. So we are spending, our members are spending a huge amount of money in R&D. R&D is absolutely key. It's, there is not, technology is, it's everywhere, in every thing that you see in your life. It's changing constantly. For renewable energy, it's absolutely the same. We are, one of the challenges is to update and to share this update of what it's available for the market to be installed. So one of the problems we have in some of the projects all around the world is that the gap between the project is designed and when it has to be implemented, then the situation has changed dramatically regarding the prices and regarding the technical solutions. And this is one of the things that we should be working with the governments, and it's one of the challenges how the countries can really establish more easy and more rapid and more quick systems to really use the money available to implement the solutions. Because if the gap is too long, then you realize that some of the solutions are not valid and are obsolete. And obviously, this cooperation among different members, not only the members, let's say 80 or 90 members of the Alliance, is not enough. We need to attract more people who are in this business in order to really exchange this communication, in order to implement these solutions. So here we are in Philippines. This is my first time in this country. I heard a lot because I'm coming from Spain, so I heard that Philippines was a colony a long time ago, and we are now going to have a new king whose name is Philip, and I say, okay, Philip, new Philip, Philippines. So I feel very proud to be in South Asia, and it's specifically in this region. I think off-grid solutions are absolutely they make a lot of sense. I will share with you that next week I will be attending the inauguration of a global island solution in Spain, in the Canary Island, in the island of El Hierro. It's about 12,000 people. It's a long-term project. They started in the 90s talking about how we can provide renewable energy for this island, for this population, and now it's done. Took a lot of time, but it's possible. And to replicate these solutions, I mean, I can imagine in the Philippines or in this region, so many islands, what solution could be better? Now that, for example, the big change, now it was our argument regarding renewable energy, was always climate change, was always clean energy, but now it's a financial solution. It's the best solution for providing this, for providing electricity. So I don't want to extend much more. I would like to really invite you to join the Alliance. I would like to establish a better cooperation framework agreements with governments. We are really delighted to really provide this information, this solution that we are collecting from the experience of our members with the government. The same we have done recently with India. We have been working 6 months in order to really provide this information. The same we are doing with IRENA and other stakeholders. And well, Marcus Wiman, our Secretary General, is here, and David and our team. And in these days, it will be a pleasure for us to share with you our experience and try to convince you to join. And I hope you have very fruitful meetings in these 2 days. And hopefully, after this, in 2 years' time, if we can make another meeting, we can really see that, well, there is a big movement and we are achieving more and we are getting more and we are finally providing more clean and affordable electricity to more citizens and improving their lives. That it is, in reality, what we are trying to do. Thank you very much.
Now I'd like to invite Mr. Nassim Ahmad, the Officer in Charge, Regional Sustainable Development Department at ADB, and Director General of IRENA, Adnan Amin, to the desk for a brief signing of a Memorandum of Understanding. First, Mr. Ahmad has a couple remarks to make.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As you have heard from our distinguished speakers, we have tremendous challenges and opportunities ahead of us. ADB and IRENA share a common goal of promoting renewable energy. By combining our capacity and knowledge, our collective efforts have the potential to reach far more people and much more quickly in a truly transformational way. And with the launch of the Sustainable for All Asia-Pacific Regional Hub at ADB headquarters on Wednesday of this week, a strategic partnership with IRENA could not have come at a better time. It is with great pleasure, therefore, that we're now formalizing our partnership with IRENA with the signing of a Memorandum of Understanding. The MOU signals our intention to share information, knowledge, and experience, and identify and collaborate on specific projects and programs. This will include facilitating public-private partnerships in renewable energy, conducting energy planning for islands, and sharing data on the cost and performance of renewable energy technologies. On behalf of ADB, I would like to express our sincere gratitude to everyone whose dedication and efforts have contributed to the establishment of this MOU. ADB is fully committed to ensuring the success of the partnership, and we look forward to close collaboration. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nassim. And let me say what a great pleasure it is to have the opportunity to develop our cooperation with the ADB. I mentioned how young the organization is. Our early focus was on other regions, in particular Africa and the islands, and this year our engagement with Latin America and Asia Pacific is growing very strongly. But especially for the Asia Pacific region, we thought it critical that we establish partnerships with some of the key institutions in the clean energy sector. And without a doubt, the ADB is a critical institution. The reach of the Asian Development Bank, its role in financing clean energy, its role in supporting economic transition for the future is going to be critical. And bringing together the competence and strengths of the Asian Development Bank with the knowledge and technical resources that IRENA possesses, as well as its global networks, is going to be, for us, a winning combination for the future. We look forward to a very strong collaboration, very targeted collaboration, one that is not based on a bureaucratic understanding of the task, but responding to clear opportunities on the ground and creating action on the ground. But finally, it's a great personal pleasure for me to be able to sign this agreement, because I knew Nassim 20 years ago when we were both much younger, darker hair, slimmer, not better looking, but still. And it's really wonderful to be 20 years later in the same place where our commitment over this time to sustainability and sustainable development has characterized both our careers. So Nassim, great pleasure to be with you and with your institution today, and we're looking forward to our collaboration for the future. Thank you very much.
The first edition of the International Off-Grid Renewable Energy Conference was held in Accra, Ghana in 2012. I would now like to invite Mr. Salvatore Vinci, who is the project manager for IOREC and other IRENA rural electrification activities, to present some of the key messages from the previous edition. Mr. Vinci.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I have the honor to welcome Mr. Dr. Junquela. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Junquela. It's an honor to have you here. Thank you very much. So I would like to start with this chart that all of you know. And actually, the rural electrification rate globally rose from 61% to 70% in 20 years. So only 9 points in 20 years. So it's clear that we need to change the pace. And it's clear that off-grid solutions have a critical role in achieving the global rural electrification. In particular, as my Director General said before, renewable energy are already today the most economical option for off-grid solution in most island and rural areas. Our work, IRENA work on Costing Alliance, showed in this chart, clearly show that renewable energy off-grid solutions are cost competitive and cheaper than diesel-fired off-grid solution. And it was mentioned before, the decreasing cost of PV panel the cost decreased by 60% from 2009 to 2012, and this trend is going to continue. So renewable energy are already a solution, and are a solution today. However, there are challenges that need to be addressed. And these challenges need to be addressed at country level and at regional level. As was mentioned before, 2 years ago, IRENA, in cooperation with the ECOWAS Renewable Energy Center and Energy Efficiency and the Alliance for Electrification, organized the first International Off-Grid Renewable Energy Conference. You have in your folder the report with the outcome and the key findings. However, today I'm happy to share with you the key messages from the conference. The enabling environment that was mentioned before is found to be composed for 4 building blocks: policy and regulatory frameworks, institutional framework, financing and business model, and technology. But there are some key messages that are overarching. So moving away from project-by-project approach toward a market-based approach with the involvement of the private sector. Ensuring sustainability in the energy access effort. It's clear that if we want to reach 1.3 billion people, this can be done only in a sustainable way. Leveraging local enterprises and capacities. This is extremely important. Off-grid are a driver for economic development, for jobs. IRENA work on jobs shows that 4.5 million jobs can be created by 2030 only in the off-grid renewable energy sector. I will say some few words on each of these building blocks. Regarding policy and regulatory frameworks, it is necessary to integrate off-grid into the national rural electrification strategy. It has to be at the core of the strategy. Until now, often off-grid solutions have been at the sidelines of the strategy. It has to be part of the strategy, a core part of the strategy. Clarity in rural electrification strategy. It has to be clear where and when the grid arrives. This is important not only for the developer to start the project, but also for the communities. They have to be aware if the grid arrives. Otherwise, they can choose for off-grid solution. Stable policy frameworks. My Director General mentioned before, between 2002 and 2008, 280,000 solar home systems in Bangladesh. Today, the same number in less than 5 months. So it's clear that there is a learning process, and the policy commitment is necessary to allow this process. Again, policy needs to be as dynamic as the sector. We mentioned before the decreasing cost of PV panel. It's clear that policymakers have to adapt their policy according to this dynamic world. And finally, effective sector regulation. Especially for mini-grid, tariffs have to allow innovation in the system. For example, the business model have to be able to include the mobile payment, there's the remote control, but in particular, if we want the private sector to have a key role in the rural electrification, tariff has to be flexible and have to take into consideration not only the socio-economic condition, not only the ability to pay, but also the commercial viability of the solution. This is essential for the private sector. Finally, a key question that I'm sure is going to be discussed tomorrow in the session on mini-grid, what happens to the mini-grid when the grid arrives. There are several examples and several debates on integrate and put in place the right regulation to allow a smooth transition. Institutional framework, the second building block, it is necessary to clearly define role and responsibility of different institutions. This is essential to provide certainty about administrative procedures and institutional interlocutors to developers. Minimized and streamlined administrative procedure. The burden of the transaction cost is huge. We have some developer in the first conference that we invited today as well, and they highlighted that the transaction cost can be as high as 40% of the generation cost. It's clear that this has a huge impact in the commercial viability, especially for the mini-grid. Ensuring institutions have the necessary capacity in terms of technical capacity, financial capacity, and also human capacity. This means that they have to be aware of the peculiarity of off-grid. Cooperation and coordination, not only between national and international actors, but also among different sectors. It was mentioned before by Ernesto Macias, the link between rural electrification with the water supply and purification, with health services. These synergy have to be taken into consideration in the policy frameworks. If we conducted during the IOREC a survey, it's clear that access to finance is still the most critical challenge. And when we talk about access to finance, we have to talk about both downstream end users and upstream developer. Access to affordable finance is a key. There are some key points that are critical for standalone and mini-grid solution when we talk about financing a business model. Outreach to rural areas, not only for developers, not only for suppliers, but also for financing institutions. Capacity within implementing agencies. Customized financing scheme. The financing scheme has to take into consideration the cash flow of the end users, the income, but also the current expenditure on kerosene and in general lighting services. It was mentioned before the huge amount of money that is spent annually on kerosene and candles. Sustainability of financial support is a key. The grant can be useful at the beginning, but then we should have a phase-off, and then the market should be deployed. Stringent quality control and operation and maintenance is key if we want to reach a sustainability. Leverage on technology platform as well. I mentioned before the importance of financing, especially for mini-grid, in different stages of the project development. In the preparation of the business model and the project development, in the early stage, in the project development, and in the scaling up. All these stages need a specific financial support. But what I want to highlight is the last point, ensuring effective and efficient source to end-use financing delivery mechanism will be a key. We have seen that there is one part of the equation is mobilize the right finance. One part of the question, another part of the question is to make this finance accessible to developer. We have seen that there is often a mismatch between the size of the finance offer and what the developer needs. A mini-grid developer doesn't need that $3 million US, but often there is this mismatch, and the challenge is to facilitate. And we are very happy that tomorrow we'll have a session explicitly focused on this issue. The last couple of slides are on technology. In the survey in the same survey that I mentioned before, we asked also among the most, which are the most critical challenges. It's quite interesting to know that while for the private sector technology is not a challenge, for the public sector is still a challenge, an important challenge. We have to debunk the myth that renewable energy is not reliable. Renewable energy is absolutely reliable, not only cost competitive, but is absolutely suitable for off-grid solution. The last slide that I want to present is on technology. Integrating innovative technology in system design, mobile payment, smart metering, remote control can reduce significantly the operational cost and improve the business model. Standard and quality insurance are necessary to avoid a situation of market spoilage. Capacity building at local level is fundamental. Institution, O&M, and I mentioned before the impact that off-grid can have in job creation. Leveraging on synergy between different sectors, for example, off-grid, renewable energy, and telecommunication. We have already several models that take into consideration anchor load like telecommunication power in off-grid areas. This is a clear synergy. Finally, storage and grid stability. These are key factors. Tomorrow we will have a session on technology. We will also discuss one of the key initiatives of ERINA, which focus on storage and grid stability. We have already a sample that it is possible to integrate high level of renewable energy with low storage, or even in some cases without storage. So this is my last presentation, and thank you very much for your attention.